Sometimes we do things and we don't even realize that we're doing them. A loving union can quickly turn toxic and dysfunctional. So when situations like this occur, plus with the high divorce rates, it's no wonder why people are shying away from marriage. And you may not even think or even realize, or maybe you're like, that's not the problem, but it could be your own behavior that's actually killing your marriage. And in today's video, I want to talk about 7 behaviors that could actually be killing your marriage. What's good, y'all? Tasha here. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new, welcome. Thanks for joining us. And on this channel, I talk all things marriage. So let's get into the video. Killing behavior number 1, negative criticism. I know that I have done this to my spouse before and it caused him to shut down on me. And a lot of times what we think is we're giving them loving advice or real advice is actually a negative criticism. I think I might have told this story on my channel before, but if not, here's the story. So I remember my husband was talking about buying a boat. And we didn't live near water. There was no place really to house a boat. He was just talking about this boat. And instead of me being a supportive wife and asking why he was thinking about this item, I completely shut him down. I told him how stupid his idea was and how he always spends his money on stupid things. Why wouldn't he shut down on me? No one likes being attacked, especially when it's about their character. And excessive negative criticism is going to take a toll on your marriage because that excessive negativeness is going to kill your partner's self-esteem. Then it's going to turn to anger and then resentment. And that's usually when the relationship starts to break down. It's funny because later, when we kind of talked about this and had this conversation, he said he really didn't want to get the boat. He just wanted to have a conversation about it. He wanted to know what my thoughts were and how I felt about even thinking about getting a boat. It was never about him actually doing the purchase. He just wanted to know my thoughts before he made or didn't make the purchase. And of course, by me saying what I said, he could have turned around and bought the boat and I would have been even more mad because again, where were we going to put it? But it would have been better if I would have received him better. And think about when someone attacks you or attack your character, or when they say that you didn't do something, or maybe that you didn't do it right. We tend to get defensive first. And when you get defensive, you start sometimes arguing or pushing back. And then that can also escalate to more problems, which leads me to negative behavior 2, defensiveness. Criticism leads to defensiveness. Defensiveness then leads to withdrawal. Being defensive can be the killer to any intimacy. Hell, going back to 1, being negatively criticized all the time can also destroy intimacy. And what we normally do when we're being blamed for something is we'll bring up all their past aggressions. Everything that they did wrong, we will bring up. And most women do this because that's our defense mechanism. If we don't want to be blamed for something, or if we're being blamed for a particular thing, we then bring up how our partner is not perfect and what they did in the past that led us to maybe act the same way. But whatever the case is, it's a negative feeling fighting a negative feeling, which leads to more negative feelings or negative actions at this point. Behavior number 3, withdrawal. After the first 2 steps, like I said, it's going to lead to 3. You're going to go into withdrawal, or your partner's going to go into withdrawal. Most of us who've been separated have gone through being with a distant spouse, or maybe you're going through that right now. Your spouse is just distant. They're not really talking to you. We're not really having the conversations. There's no bedroom action like at all. And the one thing that kills us is they'll seem happy with other people, or like if y'all get around friends, they're acting like nothing's changed, nothing's wrong. And then when all the friends are gone, it's back to we're not saying nothing to each other, or that little happy-go-lucky person that was around our friends is not there anymore. They're nowhere to be found. And sometimes we'll even withdraw as a punishment to our spouse, to let our spouse know, hey, you hurt me. So instead of us actually saying, hey, you hurt me, we'll stop talking to them completely. And even though I think I did in one of my tips video, I said that it's okay to back away from your spouse and not talk to your spouse. And I still do live by that. To me, I feel like that's different than actually withdrawing from your spouse. If me and my spouse is having an argument and I need to collect my thoughts before I can come back and have that conversation with them, sometimes it will take me a day, maybe two, no longer than that usually, to really collect my thoughts. Maybe I need to calm down depending on how heated the conversation got. And I might need to step away, calm down, before I can come back and we hash out this conversation. But withdrawal, like I said, is something totally different. That means you completely shut down from your spouse. Like, there is no type of interaction. And like I said, when we use this as a punishment, that's not a good way to communicate. It's not communicating at all. And just like you tell your kids, you have to use your words, it's the same sentiment. When you want to tell your spouse that you hurt them, tell them. Use your words. The fourth behavior killing your marriage, disrespect. This probably should be the number one behavior, but these are not in no particular order. It just so happened that the first three kind of lined up together. So when you're disrespectful to your spouse, or your spouse is disrespectful to you, this is probably like the number one sure way that this marriage is heading for divorce. Because when you start disrespecting your spouse and vice versa, that means that like there's nothing in the marriage. Like you're treating your spouse like you would treat a stranger who disrespected you. And a lot of times when we get angry, what we'll start doing is the first thing we'll start doing is name calling. Or we'll start saying things, even if it's not name calling, you'll just start saying things and doing things that's intentional to hurt your spouse. But what we don't realize what we're doing, or maybe we do realize what we're doing, is we're making them feel bad, not only about themselves, but about the marriage too. Why would you want to be in a marriage with somebody who's going to disrespect you? No one wants to be with somebody who constantly belittles them and disrespects them. Another behavior is nagging. When you just repeatedly, bothersomely, I don't even know if that's a word, but you're constantly just bothering them about something that they're doing or not doing. Believe me, they heard you the first time, but for whatever reason, they actually might be consciously ignoring you because maybe that's all you do is nag. After a while, nobody is going to want to listen to somebody who that's all they do is just nag day in and day out. And a lot of times we nag because we want something done in the time that we want it done. Your spouse could be in the middle of something and we'll be like, hey, did you do that thing? Hey, did you do that thing? Hey, did you do that thing? And it's almost like sometimes we treat our spouse like we do our kids because we nag our kids. We bother our kids because we want our kids to do something in the time that we ask them to do it. So then we do the same thing to our partner. And usually the opposite of what we're asking gets done. Either they'll do it intentionally wrong so that we can just do it ourselves, or they just won't do it at all, and that really irritates us. Nagging just makes someone want to do less. It doesn't make them want to do more. And nagging will create distance between you and your spouse because it promotes negative energy in your household. And if you want your spouse to do something, try a different approach than just nagging them to death. And if it's something that you can honestly do yourself, do it yourself. Another behavior, we're on 6, I think, refusing to resolve issues. I have met couples that instead of them actually talking out their problems, they have this, we'll wait and see what happens. And all this does is lead to a bigger blow up when all you had to do was address the issues that you had prior. And then there are some couples that just pretend everything's okay when it's not. And maybe it's because they don't know how to communicate. Maybe it's because they're afraid if they say something that their spouse will end up walking away. And so they would rather just not say anything at all. And that's not okay. And also, if you and your spouse are arguing about the same thing, and you're probably wondering yourself, why do we keep arguing about the same issue? It's because that same issue have not been worked through. Somewhere there was a disconnect. And in order for you to move on from that issue, you have to work through that issue. And 7, having unrealistic expectations. When one person puts too much on another person, they become stressed and they'll also feel like they can never please you and they can never do anything right. And that's hard on someone. And usually it'll make our spouse start feeling like they can't make us happy, they can never satisfy us, and that anything that they do, they're gonna fail at. And if they start feeling like a failure within your marriage, they're not gonna wanna fix it at all. Because why would they wanna stay somewhere where they're constantly feeling that way? No one wants to feel like a complete failure. And a lot of times we have these high expectations is because we have to control everything around us. We are holding on to this control like it's our life. And you can't control everything. You cannot expect someone to meet your high expectations. If you know that your spouse is a certain way, don't try to change them or turn them into something that they're not. So when you ask your spouse to do something, even if it's not to your liking, show your spouse that you actually appreciate it still. Be loving and accepting anyway. Because even if your spouse may have not done something right the way that you wanted it done, by you still making your spouse feel good, you'll feel good for making your spouse feel good. And then the marriage will feel good. Having differences is normal in a relationship. We're not the same. Even if we came from the same parents, we will still end up being completely different. So your spouse is going to be completely different from you. You may have some same interests, but for the most part, you're going to be different. What's important in your marriage is actually how you handle those differences. Constant self-reflection and personal responsibility are necessary for a happy and healthy marriage. I want to leave you guys with a quote from Warren Buffett. I was watching a video and he said this: "The most important decision that you'll make in your life is your spouse. Look for a person that can be an example to you, not someone you're looking to change." So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that you got value from this video. I hope this video kind of opened your eyes. If these are some behaviors that you notice that you are kind of contributing to the negative side of your relationship. Fixing your marriage is a journey, just like everything else in your life. It is a journey. It is not something that is going to happen overnight. There's a lot of changes that you're gonna have to make in order to really truly have a happy and healthy marriage. Your partner as well. But unless you're watching this video with your partner, it's about you. You can't change your marriage by yourself. You just have to do the work to be able to get to that point. So if you like this video, like it. If you want to see more videos like this from me, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And remember, love yourself, adore yourself, and always be yourself. Thank you, and I hope I get to see you guys in the next video.